Welcome to the Deep Dive. All right, let's talk about something that is absolutely foundational for any brand, new or old, the logo.
Mm-hmm.
It's really the face you show the world,
Yeah.
right? The symbol people attach their feelings to.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not just a nice picture. It's often the very first impression, packed with identity, mission, and, values.
Precisely. And because it carries so much weight, getting it wrong right out of the gate can create, serious headwinds for a brand trying to find its footing.
And that's exactly what we're digging into today. We've been spending time with excerpts from an article titled Essential Logo Design Mistakes to Avoid.
Right.
Our mission is to kind of crack open the core insights from this source material, giving you a clear picture of the common pitfalls in logo design and how to strategically sidestep them.
The article really unpacks how easily businesses, especially new ones, can stumble in this crucial process. It lays out, I think, 8 key areas where things frequently go awry.
Okay, let's unpack these insights. Maybe instead of just running down a numbered list, let's think about the journey of creating a logo. The source suggests a few foundational areas where mistakes happen first.
Yeah, that foundational step, according to the source, often involves ignoring your brand's identity. This is actually mistake number 2 in their list, but arguably the most critical starting point. You have to know who you are first.
Right. The article really hammers this point home. Your logo must visually articulate your brand values and message. So what's the fallout if you miss this step? What happens?
Well, what's fascinating here is you can end up with a logo that might be aesthetically pleasing, maybe even well-designed, but it's completely disconnected from the company it represents. The source describes it as failing to be that visual reflection. It just looks nice, perhaps, but says nothing meaningful about who you are as a brand.
So it's like wearing a sharp suit that just doesn't fit your personality at all. A bit awkward.
Exactly like that. The source strongly emphasizes the absolute necessity of clearly defining your brand's mission, its unique voice, and its personality before any design work begins.
Before you even start sketching.
Yes. Are you seen as cutting edge and disruptive, or reliable and traditional, playful or serious? The article even mentions the value of structured brand identity sessions.
Okay.
Suggesting they often involve exercises like asking, if our brand were a person, who would they be? Things to truly capture that essence.
So missing this means you're not just sending a weak message. You might be sending a confusing or outright irrelevant one to the people you're trying to reach. That really sets you back immediately.
It fundamentally undermines trust and connection.
Yeah.
Now, once an identity is clear, the focus shifts to the visual execution, and the source points to several common stumbles here. One of the most frequent is mistake number 1, overcomplicating the design.
Yes. The article really warns against logos that are too intricate or detailed. We see incredibly simple logos everywhere that work. But why does the source argue that simplicity is so often the winning strategy?
Well, the key insight from the source is about recognition and application. It's practical. When a logo is overly complex, all that detail just gets lost the moment it's scaled down.
Right.
Think about an app icon on a phone or a small profile picture on social media.
Tiny spaces.
Exactly. Those fine lines and elaborate elements just turn into an illegible blur. The source points to examples like Apple, Nike, or Google. These aren't just popular. They're incredibly simple shapes or word marks that are instantly recognizable even when tiny.
Instantly.
And they translate perfectly across different mediums. Simplicity, they argue, is really the bedrock of scalability and clear recognition.
It sounds like the source is saying complexity isn't just visually busy, it actively impairs the logo's function in the real world where space is often really limited.
Precisely. It just doesn't work practically. And building on that visual execution theme, the source highlights mistake 3, using inappropriate fonts.
Typography. It seems like such a small detail sometimes, but it carries a lot of weight, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What specifically does the article warn against with font choices?
They observed that newer designers, or maybe folks doing it themselves, often fall for fonts that are, overly trendy, difficult to read, or just don't match the brand's tone that we just talked about establishing. The article notes this doesn't just look unprofessional, it can make the logo literally unreadable at smaller sizes, sabotaging that crucial recognition factor.
And I guess the font has to play nice with any graphic element too. They can't clash.
Absolutely. Yeah, the source stresses that the typeface needs to complement the overall design, not fight with it or look sort of tacked on.
Yeah.
They recommend seeking out custom fonts, Or choosing refined typefaces, basically. Fonts that have personality but prioritize readability and align perfectly with that brand identity you defined earlier.
So a seemingly small font choice can unintentionally scream amateur or make the entire logo fail its basic job of just being read and understood.
It's a surprisingly powerful element.
Definitely.
And speaking of powerful visual elements, we have mistake 4. Poor color choices.
Color.
Yeah.
Color psychology is huge in branding. How can getting colors wrong actively undermine a logo, according to the source?
The article points out a couple of key issues here. First, clashing or psychologically inappropriate colors can immediately create negative associations or simply confuse customers about what your brand is really about.
Yeah, you get the wrong vibe.
Totally. Second, and perhaps more practical, poor contrast makes the logo incredibly difficult, sometimes impossible to see or read against certain backgrounds.
Did the source offer any practical advice on navigating color choices?
They did. A strong recommendation is to stick to a limited palette, ideally just 2 or 3 core colors. Keep it simple.
Okay.
But crucially, they emphasize the need to see how your logo works in black and white, grayscale, and against various backgrounds. You have to test it.
Not just on a white screen.
No. The article mentions utilizing specific tools designed to test how colors perform in different digital and print environments, highlighting that a great logo needs to be versatile in its color application, not just look good in one specific version.
Color really impacts perception deep down. It sounds like mistakes here aren't just cosmetic. They can literally make your logo ineffective or even push customers away.
It requires careful thought and, importantly, testing. Now, stepping back a bit from the individual visual elements, the source talks about 2 mistakes that undermine the logo's fundamental purpose: being unique and being functional everywhere. First, mistake 5, copying or using generic templates.
Oh yeah. It's so easy now to just grab a template online. Why does the source strongly advise against this? Seems like a quick fix.
Well, the core reason, according to the article, is that a cookie-cutter logo simply won't help your brand stand out in a crowded marketplace. It looks generic, forgettable.
Blends in.
Yeah, it lacks the distinctiveness needed to build recognition.
And isn't there a legal issue potentially too?
A significant one, yes. The source points out the real risk of copyright infringement if you're not careful with templates or sort of borrowing design elements too closely.
Right.
Beyond that risk, an original custom design logo is presented as essential for building trust and genuine memorability. The article highlights that custom concepts, specifically tailored to your industry, your target audience, and your market position, are really the only way to ensure your brand has a unique visual identity that truly resonates and builds credibility.
A generic logo feels like the opposite of a unique brand voice.
Yes.
It kind of signals lack of investment in originality, which, as the source implies, erodes trust before you even start.
Absolutely. It sends the wrong message. And even an original logo can fail if it's not built for the modern world, which brings us neatly to mistake 6, neglecting versatility.
This feels increasingly important these days. A logo used to mostly live on letterheads and signs, maybe. Now it's absolutely everywhere. What does the source mean by versatility here?
They note that many new businesses design their logo for one specific application. Maybe it looks great on their website header, but they completely fail to consider all the other places it will need to function effectively.
Like tiny favicons, social media profile pictures, merchandise, app icons. The list goes on.
Precisely. All those places.
Yeah.
It severely limits your reach and consistency. Definitely. Finally, the source addresses mistakes related to the process itself and looking ahead. Mistake 7, lack of feedback and testing.
Designing something as visible as a logo without getting outside opinions feels incredibly risky. What's the source's take on this? Why is feedback so critical?
They are pretty unequivocal. Designing a logo in isolation is just a recipe for disaster. What the business owner or the internal team loves might inadvertently convey a completely different, maybe even negative message to potential customers.
You have blind spots.
You absolutely have blind spots about your own brand's perception. It's hard to see it from the outside.
So you have to put it in front of your actual audience, the
Yep.
people it's meant for.
Exactly. The source stresses the vital importance of testing logo concepts with your target audience and gathering feedback from diverse groups. They even mention that modern tools allow for things like A/B testing of different logo variants online, letting you see which version resonates best or performs better based on actual user interaction or recall. It's about moving beyond just personal preference to data-driven effectiveness.
Right, your logo's success isn't really about whether you like it. It's about whether it works for the people you're trying to reach. Without testing, you're just making a potentially very expensive guess.
That's a great way to put it. And the final major pitfall the source identifies is mistake 8, failure to future-proof the logo.
Trends in design seem to move so fast sometimes. How does the article suggest creating a logo that won't feel dated in just a few years? That seems tricky.
They caution heavily against designing a logo that is too tied to current design fads or trends. While it might look appealing right now, such logos tend to look obsolete surprisingly quickly. The core insight here is that your brand will evolve over time, and your logo needs the inherent adaptability to grow with it, not become a relic of some past design trend.
Okay, so what characteristics make a logo more likely to last? What makes it timeless?
The source points towards timeless logos often being minimal, deeply concept-driven, meaning the design itself embodies a core idea rather than just a fleeting style, and inherently adaptable. Well, adaptable in how it can be slightly modified or used in different contexts without losing its core identity. They stress designing with long-term branding strategies and visual continuity in mind, ensuring the logo can support the brand's evolution without requiring frequent, costly, and potentially confusing overhauls.
A logo truly is a long-term investment then. Designing for that kind of resilience and adaptability seems key to avoiding expensive redesigns and maintaining a consistent brand presence over potentially decades.
Right. So, to quickly recap the key insights from the source, avoiding the pitfalls means prioritizing a design rooted in genuine brand identity, embracing simplicity for scalability and recognition, making deliberate choices in fonts and colors that enhance readability and convey the right tone, ensuring complete originality to build trust, guaranteeing versatility across every possible platform and size, rigorously testing concepts with your actual audience, and finally, designing a logo that is timeless and adaptable for the future. It's quite a list.
Avoiding these surprisingly common mistakes, as the article clearly lays out, is absolutely critical because, like we said at the start, your logo is often the very first opportunity to make a connection and convey your brand's essence. Getting it right means you're starting that conversation from a position of strength and clarity.
Yeah, and considering the challenges of designing for both current versatility and long-term evolution, it really makes you think. How does a logo manage to be instantly relevant today, yet still feel authentic and strong 50 years down the line? You know, what kind of concept-driven design truly holds up against massive technological shifts and constantly changing aesthetic sensibility?
That's a fascinating question to leave with. The article also touches on seeking professional help, suggesting that sometimes partnering with experts is really key to navigating these potential pitfalls and creating a logo that genuinely stands out. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into essential logo design mistakes. We hope these insights help you look at logos, and maybe your own branding projects, with a renewed sense of clarity and purpose.